Hello, everyone. My name is Samantha Hunter, and I work in the Policy Office at the National Science Foundation. It is my pleasure to welcome you today to the Spring 2022 NSF Virtual Grants Conference. And now I'm pleased to present the session, which will cover the Directorate for Technology, Innovation, and Partnerships, or TIP, which is our newest directorate at NSF. This session will be presented by Program Director Peter Atherton.
Hello and welcome. In this session, I'll be providing an overview of the newly created NSF Directorate for Technology, Innovation and Partnerships, or TIP. The nation is currently facing momentous challenges, from addressing the impacts of climate change to providing equitable access to education, healthcare and broadband connectivity, and improving US infrastructure. At the same time, the US research and innovation enterprise is undergoing historic changes. The pace of discovery has accelerated. STEM researchers and students are increasingly passionate about channeling their work to address the problems that we face in our communities, and STEM talent is highly distributed, all prompting the need for unique new partnerships that blend expertise and resources. The US National Science Foundation invests across the full spectrum of fundamental research, from exploratory, curiosity-driven research to use-inspired, solution-oriented research. Across this spectrum, NSF's investments deliver incredible benefits for the American people. The challenges of our time demand that we rapidly scale these investments and build even stronger bridges between discovery, innovation, and societal impact. The recently created TIP Directorate is an important step towards addressing these challenges and building a research and innovation ecosystem, as discussed earlier. The TIP Directorate is a cross-cutting platform that spurs innovation across all science and engineering fields to rapidly address societal and economic challenges and to bring new technologies to market and to society, while at the same time investing in nurturing the diverse talent needed for the future. TIP will address a critical need to advance the geography of innovation, engaging communities throughout the country that have been unserved or underserved in the nation's research and innovation enterprise. TIP will build on an organizational culture of innovation and an extensive portfolio of existing programs that foster public and private partnerships to advance technological innovation and translation that will grow the US economy and train a diverse workforce for future high-wage jobs. The impact of TIP is embodied in its existing programs, as well as new programs that foster regional innovation ecosystems and experiential learning opportunities to prepare students for a wide range of career opportunities. TIP comprises three focus areas: fostering innovation ecosystems, establishing translation pathways, and partnering across sectors to engage the nation's diverse talent. The Directorate works closely with the entire agency to leverage ongoing research investments and grow them at speed and scale, leading more rapidly to economic and societal benefits across the nation. TIP brings together teams of researchers, practitioners, and users to iteratively co-design and co-create transformational technologies and solutions to address the nation's societal and economic challenges and grow the future workforce. As I mentioned earlier, TIP combines existing and new programs to achieve its mission. So in the next few slides, I'll briefly describe each of these programs. First, I'll discuss the Convergence Accelerator Program. National-scale societal challenges cannot usually be solved by innovations in a single technical discipline. Instead, these challenges require convergence, in other words, the merging of innovative ideas, approaches, and technologies from a wide range of sectors and expertise. The NSF Convergence Accelerator, launched in 2019, builds on basic research and discovery to accelerate solutions towards societal impact. The program funds teams to develop solutions to societal challenges through convergent research and innovation. To enhance its impact, the Convergence Accelerator places teams together in cohorts, synergizing their work through facilitated collaboration. The unique structure of the program offers researchers and innovators the opportunity to accelerate their research towards tangible solutions that make a difference. Through an intense and hands-on program, researchers gain skills and experiences that are applied during the program and throughout their career. The program is focused on a convergent research approach that firstly stimulates convergence through a multidisciplinary approach in a co-opetition environment, secondly, develops sustainable focused solutions for direct societal impact, and finally, develops innovation skills. The Convergence Accelerator program model involves 3 phases: an ideation phase and 2 subsequent convergence research phases. In the initial ideation phase, new ideas are gathered from the community. Ideas that meet the program requirements are further developed in NSF-funded workshops. The ideas are framed for the Convergence Accelerator program to incorporate convergent research and encourage collaboration among stakeholders from academia, industry, non-profit organizations, government, and other communities of practice. The findings of these workshops assist NSF in developing the final convergence research track topics. Each year, the program releases a solicitation featuring research track topics for the next funding cycle. Funded teams within a track make up a cohort. All teams within a cohort begin in Convergence Research Phase 1. At the end of Phase 1, the teams participate in a formal NSF pitch and proposal process, which is used in selecting teams for Phase 2. Teams selected for Phase 2 continue developing their solutions towards generating outcomes with impact. By the end of Phase 2, the solutions are expected to be positioned to generate positive societal impact at scale and to be sustainable beyond NSF support. Phase 1 funding is for up to $750,000 over 9 months, while Phase 2 funding is for up to $5 million over 2 years. In addition to the standard NSF review criteria of intellectual merit and broader impacts, the Convergence Accelerator has 5 key criteria that are used to evaluate Phase 2 proposals. Firstly, the need for convergent research. Secondly, the involvement of cross-cutting partnerships involving academia, industry, non-profit organizations, government, and other communities. Thirdly, broadening participation. In other words, how the participation of underrepresented groups will be increased. Fourthly, the national or global impact of the project deliverables. And finally, collaboration between teams to ensure alignment with the track topics. The Convergence Accelerator program currently comprises 3 cohorts, started in 2019, 2020, and 2021. Each of these 3 cohorts includes 2 different track topics. The 2019 and 2020 cohorts are currently in Phase 2, while the 2021 cohort is currently in Phase 1. The upcoming 2022 cohort will include 4 topics, one of which will be a joint effort with a DoD initiative. Details of a current funding opportunity for the Convergence Accelerator are shown on this page. Letters of intent were due by May 31st, and full proposals are due by July 20, 2022. Details can be found in the solicitation at the link on this page. The TIP Directorate recently announced the formation of a new program called the Regional Innovation Engines, or simply NSF Engines. This bold new program aims to catalyze and foster innovation ecosystems across the US with the specific objectives of firstly, advancing critical technologies, secondly, addressing national and societal challenges, thirdly, fostering partnerships across industry, academia, government, non-profit organizations, civil society, and communities of practice, fourthly, promoting and stimulating economic growth and job creation, and finally, spurring regional innovation and talent. The NSF Engines program will provide a unique way to drive economic growth in regions that have not fully participated in the technology boom of the past few decades. The program will form coalitions across diverse sectors and organizational types, including, for example, small businesses, two-year colleges, and minority-serving institutions, as well as demonstrate a strong commitment to diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility. Each NSF engine will be centered around a specific geographical region and will focus on a specific topic area of national and societal importance, motivated by that region's strengths and the regional economy. The partners involved in each engine will collaboratively create and design the engine with the goal of stimulating the creation of technology-driven products and solutions to serve the region's and the nation's needs. Each NSF engine can receive up to $160 million over 10 years to support the development of diverse regional coalitions to engage in use-inspired research and development, translation of innovation to society, and workforce development, with the goal of growing and sustaining regional innovation ecosystems throughout the US. This page shows conceptually how the regional innovation ecosystems could be configured. In this example, 10 NSF engines in each of 5 different topic areas are distributed across the country. One topic area could, for example, be climate change, while another could be the use of artificial intelligence in agriculture, for example. Distributing engines in this way is intended to harness the geographic breadth and diversity of resources in various regions. There is a current funding opportunity for the NSF engines, as shown on this page. Concept outlines for Type 1 and Type 2 are due by June 30th, 2022. Type 1 letters of intent are due by August 31st, and Type 1 full proposals are due by September 29th. Details are available in the broad agency announcement at the link shown on this page. The TIP Directorate's Lab to Market platform provides pathways for researchers, startups, and aspiring entrepreneurs to move their ideas from the lab to the market while gaining access to a range of NSF resources. The platform comprises 4 programs that I'll now briefly describe. The Innovation Core, or I-Core program, provides experiential entrepreneurial education to further the nation's innovation ecosystem. I-Core connects the technological, entrepreneurial, and business communities, addressing skill and knowledge gaps to reduce the time it takes to bring technologies from the lab to the marketplace. In the program's initial phase, I-Core nodes and sites were funded separately to serve as the backbone of the National Innovation Network. A new operational model, the I-Core Hubs program, was introduced in 2020 to replace the nodes and sites. Each hub comprises a lead institution and 7 initial partner institutions that contribute to the success of the hub objectives, activities, and expected outcomes. Since its inception, the I-Core program has funded over 1,900 teams and resulted in the formation of over 1,000 high-tech startup companies. It's important to appreciate that I-Core is not about selling or pitching or grant writing or developing a business plan. Instead, the program funds teams to undergo real-world, hands-on, immersive learning about what it takes to successfully transfer research outcomes into products and processes that benefit society. Each team includes a technical lead, an entrepreneurial lead, and an I-Core mentor, all of whom participate fully in the I-Core curriculum, which is focused on getting the teams out of the lab and talking to customers, partners, and competitors. Partnerships for Innovation, or PFI, provides NSF-funded researchers the opportunity to increase the impact of their discoveries. PFI teaches researchers how to develop and implement a technology roadmap, create a business model, and develop their technology into a prototype or proof of concept. The program, which is open to any technology area funded by NSF, does not require researchers to start a small business or leave their university positions. Pathways to Enable Open Source Ecosystems, or POES, is a new TIP program that aims to harness the power of distributed open source development as an engine of technology innovation to address problems of national and societal importance. The program aims to support the development of open source ecosystems across all technical fields, including software, hardware, manufacturing, materials, and data, to address issues of societal importance in any application area. The program offers phase 1 funding for scoping activities and phase 2 funding for development of open source ecosystems. A phase 1 award provides funding of up to $300,000 over 1 year, while a phase 2 award provides up to $1.5 million over 2 years. Phase 2 applicants are not required to have received phase 1 funding. Applicant organizations can include institutions of higher education, for-profit organizations, non-profit, non-academic organizations, state educational offices or organizations, and local school districts. America's Seed Fund at NSF, also known as the NSF SBIR STTR program, provides up to $2 million in non-dilutive funding to startup and early-stage high-tech companies to develop new leading-edge technology innovations that offer the potential to be commercially successful and societally impactful. Funding is available in 2 phases, with supplements available at phase 2. Applicants can get started by submitting a project pitch for fast feedback on whether their innovation is a fit with the program. Companies must first receive a phase 1 award before being eligible to apply for phase 2. The NSF SBIR STTR program funds new technology innovations across almost all technical fields, as indicated on this page, which shows a breakdown of the 2020 funding across broad technology categories. The NSF SBIR STTR program is focused on funding startup and early stage companies where public money is likely to have greatest impact. This is illustrated by the fact that 95% of recent phase 1 awardee companies had 10 employees or fewer at the time of their phase 1 award, 81% were founded in the prior 5 years, and 59% were first-time SBIR STTR award recipients. Between 2016 and 2020, NSF SBIR STTR awardees raised approximately $14 billion in follow-on equity financing, and we're aware of approximately 200 successful exits during this time via acquisition, merger, or initial public offering. The TIP Lab to Market programs are highly synergistic and frequently connect to NSF research funding, as illustrated in the case of SBIR awardee company Nanoview Biosciences. This company's technology originated in research carried out at Boston University, funded by a 1996 NSF Career Award. This was followed by a PFI Award in 2011, an ICOR Award in 2013, an SBIR Phase 1 Award to the newly formed company in 2017, and an SBIR Phase 2 Award to the company in 2018. In 2020, the company completed a $15 million Series B funding round. To stay informed about what's happening in TIP, please visit the website shown on this page and sign up for the newsletter to learn about current funding opportunities and upcoming events. I hope you found this informative. If you have questions, please feel free to contact the TIP Directorate at the email address shown on this page. Thank you for listening, and we will now take questions via the Q&A function in Zoom.
Okay, thank you so much for that, Peter. We will move on to the questions we have. And in addition to sending the questions via the email Peter just told you about, you can also ask right now here today with us. So I'll start with the first one. Peter, could you please clarify the regional aspect of the regional innovation engines? There was a figure in the presentation that apparently made it look like regions are not geographically defined. So if you could elaborate on that a bit.
Sure, happy to, Sam, and thanks for the question, appreciate that. So in the slide, I'm looking at the slide on my other screen here. In this slide here, this is meant to illustrate that there would be different focus areas could be different focus areas for these engines, and each engine will in fact be regionally based. But the idea is that an engine in a particular region will take advantage of the strengths of that region and address issues associated with that region. So one of the examples, I mean, these engines could be in many different, addressing many different societally important issues. But if you take as an example, the use of artificial intelligence in agriculture, for instance, you can imagine that, agricultural issues to do with the agriculture industry in the Northeast might be quite different from the Northwest or the Southwest. And so, the solutions would be different. The strengths of these different regions would be quite different. So each of them might be focused on the same general issue, but they might be quite different in the way that they take advantage of local strengths to deal with issues of local relevance, local being the region. The regions are obviously not constrained to a particular state. They can cross state boundaries, but they will be in a particular region of the country. So, as I say, I can imagine a number of engines addressing the same general issue in different ways in different parts of the country, and that's what that slide was intended to represent.
Okay, thank you. We have another question. The I-Course slide emphasized the interest in recruiting more qualified mentors. Is there an NSF webpage we can circulate to people who think they may be mentor candidates?
I think the best way, if people are interested in being mentors, I think the best way is to contact the I-Core program directly. And I would suggest that, in particular, that anyone who's interested or has suggestions as regards mentors should contact Dr. Ruth Schumann at the I-Core website. I think that would be the best way to do it.
Okay. And we have a two-part question. One person is asking, is there a role for community colleges in any of these programs?
Yes, quite a few of these programs actually do call out community colleges as organizations that can participate. So in the POSE program, for example, and in the Engines program, I think community colleges are specifically mentioned as the types of organizations that can participate.
Okay, and same, but for PUIs, for primarily undergraduate institutions, is there a role for those institutions?
That I'm not sure about with regard to the engines. No, I just can't answer that. We'd have to take that on notice, but I'm happy to look into it and get back to the question. I mean, if someone wants to send me or to send us an email, I'm happy to get back to them.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, and the Regional Innovation Engine solicitation specifies that only one full proposal may be submitted per institution, but may more than one conceptual outline be submitted.
Yeah, my understanding, I'm sorry.
And also, will this solicitation cycle be repeated next year?
So my understanding is that an institution can submit more than one concept outline. I don't know whether the solicitation cycle will be repeated next year, but I think the expectation is that there will be future solicitations. We just can't say for sure.
Okay, and building on that question, and since the Engines program welcomes organizations operating in existing mature innovation ecosystems to partner with proposers, do you think a collaboration or partnership with existing ERCs will be possible or allowed? And if so, what should be the nature of that collaboration and to what extent? So
my understanding is that that is allowed. I mean, in terms of the nature of the collaboration, that's going to depend very much on what the engine wants to achieve. So I can't really provide any guidelines there because this is, it's a very sort of open call at this point. So, but I think that is allowed.
Okay. Let's see. As an investigator at the university's College of Business, and I think collaborating with our new hardware business accelerator sounds like a strategy for this funding mechanism. What are your thoughts on this?
For which, for the engines?
That's what I think. It says, I think collaborating with our new business sounds like a strategy for this funding mechanism. So I'm going to say yes for the engines.
Yes, it could be. Well, so, if it's to do with the engines, it's expected that there would be numerous different types of organizations involved in a particular engine. So there might be institutions of higher education, there might be other, community colleges and so forth, but there might be, corporate organizations, various different participants are expected to be involved in each engine. So, I think the short answer to the question is yes, but I think it's important to realize that the objective here is to try and stimulate the growth of new or existing ecosystems. So this is a big vision, and to achieve this requires a range of different parties to be involved in, a successful innovation engine.
Okay. And having common elements such as regional innovation ecosystem, workforce development, and a diverse team, how would you differentiate the NSF Engines program from the NSF ERC?
Well, I think the Engines program, as I say, is really about stimulating a sort of almost a cultural change in a region. It's trying to create an ecosystem where one doesn't exist. Now, the ERC, an ERC might result in a new ecosystem being formed, but that's not its primary objective. The primary objective here, the primary objective of an ERC, of course, is research. The primary objective here is to actually establish these ecosystems, which will cause the development of technologies that address societally important problems that are relevant to the region and obviously important to the nation. So I think if you look at it at a high level, I think the goal of the engines is somewhat different. It's a very big, bold mission.
Okay. Thank you. And thank you all for submitting these questions. Keep them coming. We appreciate all the questions and the responses we're receiving from Peter as well. So for the regional innovation ecosystems, is there any collaboration between NSF and the Economic Development Agency?
I'm not involved. I'm not directly involved in the engine, so I'm not sure. I'm not aware of any, but that doesn't mean that there isn't any. I'm sorry, I just can't answer that specifically.
Okay. And can you expand on the expected measurements or benchmarks of success for NSF engines in the context of a region?
I think that's going to depend very much on the region and the problems you're going to solve. So I think it's up to, if you're submitting a type 2 proposal, it's up to the proposing team to describe in detail the benchmarks that they would use to measure the success of the activity. I don't think NSF at this point, because it's such a broad and diverse program, I don't think it would be possible for us to just lay down a set of guidelines for objectives. I think each engine has to decide what objectives are important for that engine and then put that forward as a compelling case.
Great, thank you. And I believe you already said this, but if I have ideas and I want to speak to someone, where do I turn as far as tip is concerned? Where do I turn to reach out to someone?
It depends on what the ideas are. I mean, if someone wants guidance on whether a certain type of, for example, team structure is appropriate, that type of question, I would approach the relevant program. Mm-hmm. Obviously, we can't provide advice on the contents of a proposal. That goes without saying, of course. But if it's to do with, the processes around preparing and submitting a proposal, or some general questions about eligibility or team composition, I would just contact make contact with the point of contact in the appropriate program. I mean, everyone's happy to talk to potential proposers in all of the programs, actually.
Yes. Okay, another question. Since diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility is crucial, how will diverse or multi-sector coalitions be identified and evaluated? What indicators of synergy will reviewers be looking for?
Yeah, that depends on the project. I can't give specific guidelines as far as, indicators that reviewers will be looking for is concerned. But I do know, diversity, equity, and inclusion are important parameters in all of our programs. We're highlighting these for the engines because, it's sort of, setting the tone for the activity. But these are important, very important elements of all of our programs. But I don't think we can actually provide, hard and fast guidelines that people need to adhere to. I think people have to, again, present a convincing case that these critical elements are really not an afterthought. They're actually woven into the fabric of, if it's an engine, of the engine that they're proposing to build. So it's got to look like it's actually integral, not just, bolted on at the end of the process.
And we learned about the new NSF prospect tool from Gene Feldman. So that was the previous session. That was the proposal and award policy update session from today. But it sounds like you're encouraging direct contact from investigators to these program directors regarding suitability issues. Or should we be using both the prospect portal and direct program contact?
I don't really have any direct experience with the prospect portal, so I'm not sure, but I can tell you that in all of these programs, program directors are happy to take inquiries from potential proposers, with the caveat that we can't give you any advice, of course, on what you should include in your proposal, on the contents of the proposal, but we can certainly provide clarifications about the aim of the program, the sorts of things that you should be taking into consideration, and any procedural matters in terms of preparing and submitting a proposal, of course.
Okay. And I will say with Prospect, it does not prohibit you from speaking with a program director in any of the programs. If it's with the new PAP guide, when you have to have the Prospect tool and the concept outline, that does not mean you cannot communicate with NSF outside of that. So you absolutely can still contact the program officer directly with questions, as Peter just described, with information he just described. Not necessarily to say, oh, talk to me about my actual proposal, but still, for different information, you still are encouraged to communicate with the program officer as necessary. Okay, did we generate any more questions in your mind at this point? Again, we're here, you have our undivided attention, and we're very happy to answer as many questions as we can, clarify any pieces that you're wondering about. So we're here for you, take advantage. Is there anything, Peter, that you want to elaborate on for TIP? Anything more to get people excited about with this brand new directorate?
Thank you, Sam. I mean, I think the big thing about TIP is, to me, so I've been in the SBIR STTR program for almost 9 years now, and I have a background in entrepreneurship. I think this is a really important initiative, the TIP Directorate. It's a very important step that NSF is taking. And in my mind, it's, as was stated in the presentation, it's really a way to provide various types of, first of all, off-ramps for NSF-funded research, so we don't leave it stranded. It can go on and become a useful product or service and benefit society. And of course, for many of the things that NSF funds on the research side, the research is only done because it could lead to useful products or services that would benefit society and benefit the economy and so forth. So I think from that point of view, it's a very, very exciting and very positive step. I also think that the engines is such a bold program. If we can make this happen and actually set up, regional innovation ecosystems, that will be huge for the country. So, it's early days for the program. It's only just been announced, and there are, many things yet to do. But, the objectives are really inspiring. And, I was in a session for the engines just yesterday, as a matter of fact, and it's really interesting to hear all these fascinating ideas from different and very diverse teams being talked about, and teams now getting to know each other and starting to talk to each other in particular regions, and exploring ways in which they could collaborate to maybe put together a proposal. It's very interesting and it's very exciting, and I can see it could be hugely beneficial for the nation. So. And
this TIP is like the first new directorate we've had in 30 years. So
32 years.
We're very excited, with this great new development at NSF. So we do have a question. When will the call for NSF engines come out, and what will be the focus areas? This is for 2023.
Oh, for 2023. Well, so I mean, the dates for the engines were in the presentation. So the concept, so for the present, the only deadlines we have are concept outlines for type 1 and type 2, which are due at the end of this month. Type 1 letters of intent in August of this year, type 1 full proposals in September. There's no dates yet for the type 2 letters of intent or full proposals, but there will be sometime in 2023, but we don't have dates yet for those.
Okay.
Yeah.
And normally when that comes out, you have the 90 days, in advance to prepare. So there'll be lots of time given when the announcement is made.
Right.
And any idea how many awards will be given for the engines program?
So I think for the engines, and I'm just looking at the documentation here, the plan is to make up to 50 type 1 awards. And remember, a type 1 award is more like a planning or a sort of building your team towards a type 2 proposal. So type 1 award is for a duration of up to 2 years and a dollar amount of up to $1 million. and 50 of those are anticipated. And the Type 2 awards, as was indicated in the presentation, are for up to $160 million each over a 10-year period, and the annual funding ramps up over that 10 years. So I think it starts off at $7.5 million in years 1 and 2, and then gradually increases to $20 million a year. I think the expectation is that there will be, obviously a smaller number of those awarded. I don't actually have the number here. I think it's more like between 5 and 10, but I'm not 100% sure of that number.
Okay, thank you. Do you think it is appropriate for an engine to use a single regionally available resource to focus on multiple regional and national concerns in a broad topic?
To use a single regionally available resource.
Yes.
I mean, I think, depends how you define a resource. I think every engine is going to require different types of resources in order to be effective. So it's not just having a technology. It's, you've got to have the involvement of various educational institutions. You've got to have the involvement of industry. You've got to have the involvement of the local and regional governments, the economic development authorities in the region, et cetera, et cetera. So I think, I'm not sure what's meant by a single resource. I think all those resources will be necessary for an engine to be effective. The objective is to build an ecosystem in the region. So I just don't see how that's possible without having all those different resources involved in an initiative in order to do that. Now, can an engine in a particular region address issues in other parts of the country? I mean, in principle, yes, but the intention is for an engine to focus on the strengths of the region and primarily focus on issues that are regionally important. So if those issues occur in other parts of the country, maybe it will end up having an impact there as well, but they're intended to be regionally focused. So.
Okay, and for engines, what's your sense of the relative advantage or disadvantage of a proposal building on a budding innovation ecosystem? It sounds like the philosophy is oriented towards creating completely new ecosystems that have little to no existing momentum.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that the philosophy is just focused on creating completely new ecosystems. I think, now, who knows what we'll see coming as proposals, but I think it depends on the region. In some regions, there are, early stage or somewhat nascent ecosystems, and maybe they will be the basis for building an engine. And in some regions, of course, there's really not a well-developed ecosystem at all. And, if the objective is to try and take advantage of resources, talent, et cetera, in those regions, then in those cases, depending on the region, in those cases, though, it's going to be a case of building something essentially from scratch. And I know some of the regions are looking to also interface to neighboring regions in order to take advantage of talent from neighboring regions, and also in order to be substantial enough to be able to absorb $160 million over 10 years. I mean, you have to have a vibrant enough ecosystem built to be able to absorb that ongoing funding. So it's going to be very dependent on the region, I think. I'm giving a lot of very equivocal answers here, but I think that's just the way it is. I mean, every region is different. The problems that are being addressed will be different. The strengths of each region and the resources already there are different. So I think it's a case of every team putting together a creative and compelling package.
Okay, thank you. And a question on Convergence Accelerator grant. Is it required to have stakeholders in industry to be included as a senior personnel on the team, or just a letter of collaboration is needed?
I'm not 100% sure, to be frank with you. I don't think it's required, but I'm not 100% sure of that. I say that because I know a number of teams have gone through the Convergence Accelerator, and I don't think they've had industry members as senior personnel anyway.
Okay. And back to engines. If a lead institution submits an engines type 1 letter of intent, will they be eligible to also apply for a type 2 letter of intent with a different topic or group when those dates are announced?
In terms of the letters of intent, I honestly don't know the answer to that. My guess would be that you can be involved in multiple letters of intent, because that's not a proposal. The letters of intent are used more by NSF for planning purposes in this program anyway than anything else. So I think, the requirements of the solicitation of the proposal that are placed on the proposal, I think don't go upstream to the letters of intent, but I'm not 100% sure about that, to be frank.
And can the industrial academic research partners of the regional engine be across multiple state boundaries as long as they benefit the competitiveness and help a niche industry spanning in multiple states and enhances the industry's technical strengths?
The short answer is yes. Yes, they can be. They can be from other states. I mean, if that's necessary to build, the critical mass that is needed for the engine to be effective in the greater region that it's looking to serve, that's perfectly fine.
Okay. Thanks. There was a lot of questions all thrown in just now. We're still open to more. Do we have any other questions? Thank you for that last response, Peter. That's what just came up. Do we have any other questions that we can tackle? And if anything is different, like the solicitation will specify a lot of the questions you all have, the solicitation will let you know if something is required, if there are restrictions on eligibility, if the description of senior personnel, who has to be, the solicitation, if it's different from what's in the PAP guide, that will be explicitly stated in the solicitation always. Right. So, and a lot of, if Peter's saying, oh, it depends, that's because there's so much flexibility all around that it really does depend, so that really is a standard answer, but a lot of those details are available in the solicitation where your limitations may be.
Yeah.
Okay, well, Peter, is there any more you need to say, or are you?
I don't think so, Sam. I mean, the other thing I would just reiterate is if anyone does have, more very specific questions, please just reach out to the program. They will be able to answer those questions. Most of the questions now were on the engines, which is understandable. It's a new and potentially very big and impactful program. But if you have more detailed questions about any of the programs, just reach out to the representatives of those programs and they'll be happy to get back to you.
Okay, well, I thank you very much, Peter, for everything you've explained to us and brought to our attention and so excitedly talked about with TIP. I thank you all for joining us today. And again, thank you for your participation.